Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. And with us, of course, this morning is Suzanne Tick. Good morning, Suzanne.
Good morning, Dave.
This is our continuing series of the TikTok series. Suzanne, your background is really putting me to shame. Your background shaming me because I have a gray blank background. I really need to up my game in the background. But yeah, so we're actually.
I'll send you a weaving or something.
Would you? I need some help there.
Okay.
So Suzanne and I were talking earlier about this, and I said, so what's today's talk about? And she said the three, and I thought she said Goonies, and I was like, Goonies? That's like a movie from the 80s, I think, wasn't it? Anyway, but no, it's about the Three Gunas, and I think. I actually am really intrigued by this subject and what, as Suzanne explained it to me. So with that, Suzanne, tell us a little bit about this.
Okay, this is hold on to your seats here. This is really I think a very kind of esoteric discussion that I'd like to share with you all, but it's really from a book that I've been reading called The Spiritual Compass. You can see that. I don't know if that's backwards, but it's by Satish Kumar. And it talks about the three gunas. And the gunas are really a way in which we connect with our true nature and ourself. And as designers and product designers, and working with clients, there are these qualities in which the gunas represent how it's kind of like universal energies and how we live our lives. And I wanted to talk to you about it in the way that we look at the three gunas and develop our products, because no matter where you are, whether you're in the more sattvic mode or the more rajasic mode or the Tamasik mode, and we have clients in all of these areas, and we have projects in all of these areas, and for us, we have products that fit within these areas. We can always err to going towards the sattvic because we ultimately want to live a sattvic life. If you're on a spiritual path, that's the life that you want to go into. So let's go into the next slide, and these are the three meanings. So a sattvic quality is something that's buoyant and original, and there's purity of means. So that the way you live your life, the foods that you eat, the way you dress, natural fibers, all of that are really a part of that aesthetic. Building materials that are more natural in qualities and things like that. And what you're looking for out of your life is to, and as designers, we're always doing this, is trying to help others have a better quality of life. And so a sattvic life is really in service of others. And I think as creative beings that we all are, that's the life that we've been given to lead, which is great. Now, the rajasic life would be one of extravagance and stimulating and moving, and it's all about achievement. It's all about more. And if you could find happiness, happiness comes from a bigger place, or a bigger car, or a better lover, or like more and more and more. And people live a very rajasic life. And the thing about in the kind of the Vedic worldview is, living a rajasic life means that you're dependent on happiness coming from the outside, and that doesn't really work, because happiness really only derives from the inside. So, but we'll talk about the places that are very rajasic and stuff like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a part of our lives. and how to design towards that and making things opulent and beautiful, which is something that we're also doing as well. And that is dependent on our clients. And then the Tamasik life is more heavy and dominating, and they'll do anything to justify the means. And I'll explain that from a perspective of being a textile designer. And those are, a lot about synthetics and things like synthetic materials, and and a lot of the fashion industry has been hurt by this, by the way that manufacturers have been, and the employees have been treated and stuff like that. So there's this this thing about that Tamasik. What Krishna said, who, this is in the 3rd century, that these qualities illuminate the human path like a lamp. And so what we wanted to share is how we look at things from that perspective. Go to the next. So our collective conscious collection, which we're just launching, has a little bit of everything in it. And we're really excited. I've got notes here because this is like trying to figure out the best way to describe this. But the primary purpose about collective conscious is for us, was to work with, North American mills. We really wanted to stay really close to home. We wanted to, in most parts, and we really wanted to work with materials that were elevating each one of the gunas, but also work with materials that had the quality of sattvic characteristics. And we wanted to, this collection is inspired by contemporary craft, which is something that's very sattvic, embroidery, handmade things, very natural feeling, and those are kind of create a more home-like experience, something that's more pure and natural. And so these are some of the things that we weave everything from scratch. So we start on our looms and we create everything. So there's a purity about the collections that we develop, and there's a purity about the design and the process in which we work in. And so there's so each product that we work on has a complexity of a weave draft that we come up with, pattern orientations and things like that. And we're constantly looking at improving both our collections, but how our collections fit within our entire holistic collection. And so that everything has an additive relevance, because there's no reason to put more and more and more product into the marketplace unless there's a relevant reason for it. So Collective Conscious, we're really, really excited. If you haven't seen this collection, get in touch with our reps. It's such a beautiful collection. So the top fabric is a drape, and it's got wool on one side and polyester. So we've kind of married the relationship between, a renewable resource and extruded resource, but we made it a beautiful way to create space division and things like that, and elegance into the space. But let's go to the next slide. So from a sattvic perspective, the food that we eat is natural. It's from the farm. It's handmade. It's not packaged. It's usually single ingredients. We've all heard a lot about this. But the more pure the experience that you have with the food, the more purification that you bring into your body. And Sophistic Architecture, this is the PepsiCo headquarters, and it's in New Jersey, I think. And I've been there. It's just the most beautiful installation. Yeah, it's in Purchase, New York. Sorry. And it's built into the environment. So that would be considered a sattvic installation. And then on the bottom left are wools and wool roving and natural fibers. On the bottom below that is cotton. The blue is recycled and repurposed, actually, cradle to cradle cotton that we work with as well. And then the drapery that we talk about. This is Christina Kim on the right, and her clothing store is Dosa, one of my favorites. And it's all indigo dyed. It's all natural fibers and things like that. So from a from a sattvic perspective, it's really about fabric having an immediate relationship with touch and the harmony of the surroundings, and it's all about tactility, and it's organic, and there's a lot of woods and stones and natural materials, plaster, beautiful mud, as rammed earth buildings and things like that. Those would be considered sattvic. So let's go to the next. So that, the drapery before was called gaze. It's you've got to see it. It's 126 inches wide, fantastic. So you'd have no, another thing about the stuff that we were doing is that if you railroad a drapery at 126, as you all know, then you have no seams. It's easier for installation purposes and stuff like that. So, a more Rajasic lifestyle is very tempting, right? For all of us, it's like, here you've got your wine and you've got 2 or 3 different types of ceviche, and they're all on these like very elegant shells, and it's really about, multiple ingredients, so 2 single source materials. So what we wanted to show here on the bottom right is our scale factor product, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it has a lot of embellishment on it, and the embellishment makes it so luxurious and so beautiful. And so what we did to make it more sattvic is we used a recycled base, which is the face of the fabric, that allows you to use, and that's called actuate, which is in our line. So it allows you to use 2 fabrics for one. And the base fabric, the multi-purpose base fabric actuate, can be used holistically, whether vertically or as upholstery, but it can also be in tandem with the scale factor. So the costs are kind of balanced out. But the clothing are all very opulent. Think Imelda Marcos, if you haven't, I don't know if you have heard of her, but she has like 1,000 pairs of shoes, which is like, who has 1,000 pairs of shoes? But it's really about accessibility, being excessive and very prideful and, very showy. It's very, someone that lives a Rajasic life lives an exciting and stimulating, a lot of alcohol, a lot of meat, that type of stuff. So, it's very, very tempting. And then the projects in a Rajasic perspective would be a lot of churches, a lot of theaters, a lot of very, very extravagant buildings. So it's interesting because the purity of what one's trying to do in transformation in a space like a place of worship or a symphony hall are transformational. So it's like brings up this kind of grand feeling for ourselves, but the way that we can use the materials is more of with a sattvic perspective. And then the bottom left is, a lot of Rajasic stuff is very shiny, and so we just did a little a series of talks about how to create energy in a space, and these were called texture tools, and they're little videos on how you create energy in a space. And a Rajasic perspective would be shiny materials. And so we were talking about glossy wall coverings that we have that really give a very rajasic grand feeling in a space. And if you want to bring energy into a space, that's what you would want to do, is to bring really, really shiny materials. You can find those videos on Instagram and YouTube Loom, or Instagram on the Loom site and stuff like that. And we talk about matte finishes, and then we talk about semi-gloss, and then we talk about shiny finishes. So let's go to the
Suzanne, is that building that we're looking at, that's in New York, that's kind of lower?
It's the new Oculus. It's the Calatrava's station.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's cool.
It's grand. I mean,
yeah.
It is as rajasic as you can be, right?
Yeah, I've been in that. It's pretty spectacular.
Transportation center. So rajasic people are kings and queens, and like that, that live that life. That doesn't mean they're necessarily happy. It's like that they want more. Their happiness is derived from things, getting things and stuff like that. It's a different, different ways, different strokes for different folks, right?
Yep.
So our multi-purpose products can serve for multiple needs, and that's what we look at. That it's like we have many needs in our lives, and so when we create multi-purpose materials, it's so that they can be used in a lot of different places, and that and they're needed. It's needed. It's something that we desire. So, and then the last the last of the gunas is Tamasik, and the projects in those would be prisons and schools and pharmacies and grocery stores and things like that. Now, this is this is all about utilitarianism, and so we can and so what we wanted to show is, even though you can get these projects like a grocery store, you can create a sattvic impression and express it like Dean and DeLuca on the top. That gives you the impression of a sattvic being, because it's got natural ingredients. The finishes are all natural, as opposed to the Safeway down below, where the materials that are being used, it's a different budget. It's a different experience that people, it's like you don't need to put that much money into that kind of space. But you can either be highbrow or lowbrow in a Tamasik perspective. So there's a time and space for everything, and something that we feel is more Tamasik is something that is like a vinyl. It's like an unnecessary product that one needs to use, and so that's something that we think about. It's more about, in terms of the foods and things and stuff, it's more about fast foods and sausages and all those stuff that we love to eat, but actually it doesn't make us feel very good afterwards. That's because of it's not pure, it's not purifying, it's not an asset for our system and stuff like that. And
as you're talking about it, Suzanne, like what I'm thinking is that the interesting thing though is that it reminds me of the reason why designers are always so passionate about textiles. It's because even in that Tamasik type environment, which has to be very pragmatic, that textiles are really a very inexpensive way that through color, texture, and pattern, you can bring some sattvic, you can elevate the elevator. Yeah.
What we do with our volume drivers down below on the bottom left on this in the Collective Conscious collection, we've got grid state and is it, oh my gosh, cross grain, and both of those are really, really well priced materials And materials in this category are mostly, oil-based extruded fibers, and it's all about mass production. But the way that we've developed this is very carefully working with both biodegradable. This is the first, Grid State's the first biodegradable product in the marketplace. It's taken us 2.5 years, very painstakingly working with the fiber, with getting the fibers the way we wanted them, getting the pattern to work correctly, the coloring to work correctly, and then making sure that, all the discussions about how the biodegradation works and everything, and having all the science behind it, and making sure this truly is positive for the environment, is a very Sattvic approach to it, because it's not just that it's a low price product and we need to get stuff like this in the market, but it's healthy for the market. It's healthy to have these types of products because of the cradle to cradle, and also the end of life is not going to have terrible impact on the universe. So, so we can raise the consciousness of all of the things that we do by taking the time and creating an environment that feels good at little cost. I mean, that's really what it's about. So that's kind of, I'm 2 minutes over, but that's the discussion of the three gunas. How we pair those with the work that we're doing for Loom. And so, follow us on Loom, follow us at Tick Studio, follow us at Suzanne Tick. We're constantly kind of trying to raise consciousness of how we live our lives. And again, I highly recommend The Spiritual Compass as a book to read. And it'll give you a deeper dive into the three gunas. So.
Excellent. Thanks, Suzanne. I thought that was great.
Thanks,
I find there's a lot of parallels between textiles and our approach actually to the product launches. So I thought that was awesome. Thank you very much.
It was fun to kind of try to bring this, because when we're doing our projects, we always try to get the best out of everything that we're doing and make it very purposeful. That's for this collection, right?
Excellent. Well, Suzanne, thank you again. Thanks to all of you for joining us as well, and we look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thanks. Hey, before anybody goes, is this a Q&A thing, Daniela, or no? I don't remember.
Yeah, we don't have any questions, so okay. I think we're okay.
Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you later. All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.